All right, let's check in with Dr. Joe Schwarz. He is host, of course, of the Dr. Joe Show, Sundays at 3 here on CJAD 800, and director of the McGill Office for Science and Society. Joe, I have to ask, I saw the headline which says Blue Zones, where people have amazing longevity. Now, we've been talking about these for a while. Are you about to debunk the whole idea of Blue Zones? Are you telling me olive oil is not good for me?
No, olive oil is certainly good for you. But there are some interesting nuances in this evolving story of the blue zones. First of all, just to tell people what it is that we are talking about, the story dates back to 1994 when Dan Buettner, a writer for National Geographic, wrote an article about areas of the world that apparently have amazing longevity, that is more centenarians than anywhere else. And these were Okinawa, Japan, the Nicoya Peninsula in Costa Rica, the island of Icaria in Greece, Sardinia in Italy, and then Loma Linda in California, which I think he was made to include because they wanted to have something American in there.
Okay.
Anyway, it all started really in Sardinia, where he and a demographer, demographers are people who are trained to look into things like longevity in different geographic areas. They looked at the island of Sardinia, and there are many villages, of course, in Sardinia, and they had a map, and they looked at statistics, and they found the number of centenarians living, in Sardinia. And wherever there seemed to be a higher than statistically predicted number of centenarians, they marked that village with a blue dot on a map. And this is where the original blue zone idea comes from. It came from the blue pen. And then they looked at other areas of the world, which I mentioned, where also they seem to have longevity. And they looked at what kind of lifestyle differences there were. And, they did conclude that these people tended to sleep longer, they exercised more, they had a mostly plant-based diet. Anyway, stuff that we normally talked about. But now I come across an interview with Dan Buettner, who wrote the original story. And the interview is all about what he does himself. What he has learned from following these geographic areas now for many years, since 1994. He now lives in Miami, actually. And what I really came across, interestingly, is that he's become a pickleball guy. And he says that actually, I think pickleball is the greatest social innovation America has come up with for over half a century. Not only is it great physical activity, but we have this huge loneliness epidemic where 30% of Americans don't get enough social interaction. The beauty of pickleball is you not only get an effortless or painless workout, but invariably, if you play enough, you emerge with a whole new set of friends. It's a twofer. I arrived in Miami knowing many people, and about half of my social network comes from playing pickleball. In fact, I think in today's world, longevity equals pickleball plus sex.
Sorry,
what?
What?
Headline for you. Thanks for helping to ensure, this piece, the writer of this interview says, what does sex have to do with longevity? And Buettner says, well, people over middle age who are having sex at least twice per week have about half the rate of mortality than people who aren't getting it at all. That's quite a prescription, right? And he refers to a 104-year-old guy in Costa Rica who is still having sex with his 40-year-old girlfriend. So there, Aaron, there's hope.
I'm sorry, Joe. I need to stop you for just a sec. The guy was how old? 104?
104.
And his girlfriend is 40.
Is 40, yeah.
I see.
So he must be some performer.
Yes, he certainly must be. Joe, I'm wondering, though, we started with the blue zone, so are we now supposed to forget about food, just play pickleball and have sex? Is that the new...
Yeah, I mean, this is what Buettner is doing. But there's more to this story, which I want to mention, is that there are a number of statisticians that have looked into this whole blue zone business because, of course, it has been talked about in the press, and there was a Netflix series on it, etc. Mm-hmm. And especially a statistician by the name of Saul Justin Newman in England, who says that this is all just a figment of imagination.
Oh, there you go.
And that there are no real blue zones. It all comes out of people falsely reporting, how old they are, about people lying in order to get pensions, about the island of Okinawa in Japan, where there really are no birth certificates. So all the stories about the centenarians, he calls into question. And for this, interesting enough, he received the Ig Nobel Prize. Now, the Ig Nobel Prize is awarded by Harvard every year, and it's sort of a joke, calling upon research that seems to be far out there, and nevertheless, it may have some importance. I'm not sure why he got the Ig Nobel Prize for this, because he actually does present some data about, falsification of birth certificates, etc. But this also has been rebutted by other statisticians who claim that, in fact, Newman is wrong, and he doesn't know how to interpret statistics.
Okay.
And that, So we're back to maybe there are these blue zones, and again, trying to explore exactly what it is that they're doing.
All right.
The one thing that they do agree on is that they mostly consume a plant-based diet, and they engage in a lot of physical activity, not necessarily by going to the gym, but they plant their vegetables, they do a lot of activity around.
Yeah, and if they could, they would play pickleball.
They would play pickleball.
Sure. And they'd have sex.
Exactly.
Okay.
And they would do the other things,
yeah,
too.
Of course they would. So that's the prescription for a long life. Plant-based foods, eat olive oil, play pickleball, and have as much sex as you possibly can. All right, Joe, thank you. That's great. I think we've laid that out for everybody. Bad choice of words. Let me ask the question here, Joe, because I wanted to bring this up. I was out doing my food shopping the other day, buying my prepackaged salads and Eggos. And I noticed that in the freezer section where they keep the Eggos, they've now introduced an Eggo of one of the different sort of types that actually says on the front, 10 grams of protein, like added protein to Eggos, which are not the healthiest thing in the world to begin with. I get that.
Right.
What's the point? What's the point of how do they add the protein? It's still the same original Eggo. What kind of protein is that?
Probably whey protein or soy protein.
Okay.
Those are the two.
Do we need that?
If you look on the label, it's perfectly fine. I mean, today, there's all this talk about how we're not getting enough protein.
Yeah.
We talked about that somewhat. And so I think there may be some legitimacy to that. Although I suspect that Eggos enhanced with protein are probably not the best way to get your extra protein.
So maybe eat your protein, eat your lean chicken or your fish or whatever. That's still the best way? Okay.
Right. Yeah. Anyway, Aaron, I mean, unbelievably, Kennedy got confirmed.
He did?
I mean, this is going to be a health disaster in the U.S.
Oh.
I mean, we're already seeing the U.S. empire crumble. But what this man is going to do to science, I think has been unthinkable, and it's going to become thinkable. He even hates canola oil. He wants to get that out of stores, which is absolutely ridiculous.
Why canola oil is okay?
Canola oil is totally fine.
I thought it was genetically modified.
It's Canadian oil. Yes, it is genetically modified. That's what makes it better. Exactly.
I'm going to get yelled at when I go home.
No,
okay. Yeah. I did not see the story. So you're telling me RFK Jr. has, in fact, been confirmed?
Yeah, he was confirmed by the committee. So now it goes to the whole Senate, but the whole Senate is going to vote the way that Trump tells them to vote.
Joe, I'm out of time. Okay, there's your news. A little bit of everything in this one. Joe, thank you so much.